The diner was loud with the clatter of forks and the low murmur of conversations, but over all of it came a desperate cry that silenced the room. "Don't eat that." Every head turned toward the voice. It came from a ragged boy, maybe 12 or 13, his clothes torn and his face streaked with dirt. He stood barefoot at the door, his chest rising and falling like he had run all the way there. At the counter, Senator John Kennedy froze mid-bite, fork inches from his mouth. He had ordered a simple plate of eggs and bacon, but now everyone was staring at the boy, at him, at the food on his plate. Kennedy slowly set down his fork, his eyes narrowing with concern rather than anger. "Son," he asked gently, "why shouldn't I eat this?" The boy's voice cracked, carrying the kind of pain that didn't belong to someone so young. "Because it's poisoned." "Not by mistake. Somebody a broken bar, somebody put something in it. I saw them." The room erupted in whispers. The waitress gasped. A man at the corner booth laughed nervously. But the boy wasn't smiling. His hands trembled, his eyes glassy but steady as they locked on Kennedy's plate. Kennedy, known for his sharp wit and unflinching calm, didn't brush it off. Instead, he gestured for the diner manager and asked the boy to explain. The child stepped closer, his bony frame barely filling the doorway. "I sleep out back sometimes," he admitted, shame creeping into his voice. "Last night, I saw a man slip into the kitchen. He poured something into the container with the eggs. I thought a broken bar. I thought no one would believe me. But when I saw you about to eat a broken bar." His voice broke, and his eyes filled with tears. A hush settled over the room. Kennedy pushed the plate away and motioned for the local sheriff, who happened to be sipping coffee 2 stools down. The sheriff stood, approached the counter, and examined the food. Minutes later, a quick test confirmed the boy's story. There was indeed poison. The diner erupted into chaos. The cook was questioned, the staff shaken, but Kennedy's eyes stayed fixed on the boy who had just saved his life. "What's your name, son?" Kennedy asked softly. "Eli," the boy whispered, clutching his arms around himself. "Eli," Kennedy said, his voice steady, "you may have just saved not only me, but anyone else who might have eaten from that batch." But Eli shook his head, ashamed. "Nobody cares about me. I'm just a dirty kid outside. I'm nothing." Kennedy's heart clenched. The man who had faced political battles, courtroom showdowns, and national debates suddenly found himself fighting tears. He stood, walked over to the boy, and did something no one in the diner expected. He put his arm around him. "You are not nothing," Kennedy said firmly. "You are brave. You are important. And from today forward, you are not alone." The sheriff took charge of the investigation, but Kennedy made a different kind of decision. He spoke quietly to Eli, asking about his life. The boy revealed he had lost his parents in an accident 2 years ago, and with no relatives to claim him, he had fallen through the cracks of the system, sleeping behind restaurants, scrounging for scraps, learning to be invisibly. That was his world. Kennedy's face hardened with resolve. "Not anymore," he promised. Over the next weeks, news spread quickly. The headlines weren't just about an attempted poisoning, they were about the homeless boy who had saved a senator's life. Kennedy made sure Eli's story was told not as a tragedy but as an act of courage. He fought to get the boy proper care, a safe home, and eventually an education. But he didn't stop there. Standing on the Senate floor, Kennedy shared Eli's story as a symbol of something bigger. "How many Elis," he asked, his voice echoing in the chamber, "are out there tonight, hungry, forgotten, sleeping on the cold ground? Children who are not nothing, but everything. If we ignore them, we ignore the very future of this country." The story moved not just politicians but ordinary Americans. Donations poured into shelters. Communities began programs for at-risk children. And through it all, Eli once invisibly stood beside Kennedy as living proof that one voice, however small or broken, could change lives. Years later, Eli would stand on a stage of his own, clean-shaven, in a suit that finally fit. "I was just a homeless kid who thought no one saw me," he told the crowd. "But one man did, and he made me believe in myself." If you see someone who feels invisibly, stop, look, listen. You might just save their life via a broken bar, or they might save yours. The diner incident faded into history, but the lesson never did. Greatness isn't measured by power or titles, but by the courage to stand up when it matters and the compassion to lift someone else when they've fallen. And all of it began with the boy who shouted 3 desperate words: "Don't eat that."